So this is the brand new Porsche Macan Turbo, or as a lot of people from outside the UK call it, the Porsche Macan Turbo. Basically, it's one of the very best compact SUVs on the market. Today, we're going to talk about choosing the right spec for your car. We have actually spec'd this car ourselves, and it is a bit of a fine art choosing exactly the right spec for your car. You obviously want to choose options that you want yourself, but you've also got to keep in mind options that other people will want. So when you come to sell it, you're not going to lose a lot of money and it's going to become an easier car to sell. So let's show you around this car and look at some of the options and why we've chosen them. So we're going to start off with the exterior of the car. Obviously I have to stress a lot of these things are very much personal preference, none more so than the paint. So basically if you don't want to spend any money on paint, you only have the choice of solid black or solid white. You can pay extra for the metallic colours, which is £674, things like Volcano Grey, which was very popular on the previous Macan, the Jet Black Metallic, the Carrara White Metallic. There are a few new colours like Mamba Green, the Dolomite Silver, which was on the 992 recently, or you can pay a bit extra for something like Crayon, which is a special paint. There's also Carmine Red and Miami Blue. They're £1,674, but we went with Crayon. We think this colour is very much on trend at the moment. We didn't have any of the previous Macans in this colour. It was a bit of a toss-up between Jet Black and Volcano Grey, which we also think are very good for resale, but we went with Crayon. Okay, so after choosing your paint, probably the next thing you're going to want to do is choose your wheels. So start off by choosing the size. You get 19-inch wheels as standard on the Macan Turbo. These have their benefits in terms of the ride quality. They can also take a bit more damage if you're driving up curbs and things because the tyre is a lot bigger. If I'm totally honest though, it just makes the car look a lot more budget. If you go one step up to the 20s, they're about £800, which are more of a mid-range, but my recommendation is definitely to go for the 21-inch wheels. There are a few different styles you can choose from, which also vary in price. You can get the 21-inch RS Spyder wheels. For me, I've always imagined the Spyder wheels being on the GTS models, so for us it was a toss-up between the 911 Turbo wheels and these, the Sport Classic. These are painted in high gloss black. They're actually the most expensive wheel you can get. Obviously you get this silver rim. One of the nice things about these is they're much easier to clean. But the real reason we chose these is because we went with Crayon, which is obviously a lighter color. We wanted that darker contrast on the wheel, so we went with these, the Sport Classic wheels. Okay, so hopefully you've chosen nice big 21-inch wheels to give the car loads of road presence. One thing I wouldn't go for is the carbon ceramic brakes. I think totally unnecessary on a Macan, and besides you get these new brakes which are from the Cayenne called Porsche surface coated brakes, which has now got the white calipers. I believe Porsche chosen white because it's probably pretty much emphasizing the point that they produce 90% less brake dust. When you drive this car, it actually gives a sort of mirror-like finish, but the brakes are a lot better, a lot more responsive than before. So carbon ceramic brakes for me is a no-no. So one of the exterior options we didn't go for was the Sport Design Package. That basically changes the front and the rear bumpers, makes it a little bit cleaner, a little bit more aggressive, but we felt for £1,500 on the Macan, didn't really think it was worth it. Something we did go for was the LED lights, which are standard, but with the PDLS Plus, which basically actively light up some of the junctions. They don't actually do the new matrix lights just yet from the 992. To match the gloss black wheels, we've chosen a number of gloss black little options. So you've got here on the window trims in gloss black, which replaces the chrome. Down here you've got the gloss black door handles, which I think gives a really nice contrast on the car on this lighter paint. And then down at the bottom here you have these side blades, which we also got in gloss black. You can pay a bit extra and get those in carbon, but it's actually quite hard to notice a difference, especially from afar, so we left that out. You'll notice also we went with privacy glass, which is sort of completing that contrast look and giving you a bit more privacy. And one of the important features is the roof rails. So these obviously painted in gloss black as well, so they're giving the car a little bit more aggression, but more importantly it means you can actually fit the roof transport system. So if you're transporting bikes, canoes, surfboards, you have to have the roof rail, so a very good practical option. Gloss black for the rear spoiler as well, looking good. gloss black exhaust tips, which are actually a no-cost option. And then finally, just the finishing touch is to get this Macan Turbo in gloss black too. You can get the Porsche badge in gloss black, but because of this new light bar on the Macan, it gets a bit lost, so we left it in silver. Okay, so moving on to the interior. So on the Macan Turbo, you get partial leather as standard, but we've actually spec'd the full leather with the smooth finish. It's about £1,100, and it basically gives you full leather seats, leather on the upper and the lower dashboard, leather on the doors, leather on the center console. It's a really nice option to have, and you're just surrounded by a bit more sort of luxury. As you can see, we've gone with the very safe option of speccing it all in black. You can spec it in other colors. You can get agate grey leather. Personally, I'm not a fan of grey leather. If you wanted a lighter interior, you can pay a bit extra, £1,500, you get the crayon and pebble grey. Obviously, if you've got dogs or kids, maybe not the best option. They can tend to wear a bit more. You can get the red leather seats, or you can get Luxor beige. The most expensive option, which I think is £2,000, is the espresso natural leather. I think it's a little bit softer leather, but obviously a more niche colour. One thing I actually wanted to get on this car was the deviated stitching. I really wanted red stitching for this car, but it meant the car would be pushed back. But the black stitching is fine. We also got the little Porsche crest on the headrest too, which is a very small cost. Then you want to choose your wood. We've actually gone with the carbon interior package, so you get carbon on the dashboard, carbon on the door trims in the front and the rear, and we've also paid a little bit extra to get the carbon steering wheel. Not massively important to have carbon, but we definitely feel it gives the car a little bit sportier, more upmarket, and that's what we're about here at Romans. Okay, so behind the wheel of the Macan Turbo, I mean, there are so many options you can get in terms of the drive and convenience and technology. I can't go through each of them one by one. There's probably an argument for and against pretty much everyone, so a lot of it comes down to personal preference, but this is was our thought process behind it. Obviously, start off with the seats. So you get adaptive sport seats as standard in the Macan Turbo. They're 18-way. They're very comfortable, especially for a sort of guy of my size. I'm really nicely planted in the seat. I know for bigger guys, the 18-way seats are a little bit too firm. You can actually spec as a no-cost option the 14-way seats, which are a little bit softer and a little bit more comfortable for bigger people. One of the most important, if not the most important options, I think, on most Macans is the panoramic roof. So it's just over £1,100. Obviously, it's a very big roof. Yes, it does add a little bit of weight to the car, but it just brings so much light in the car, especially if you've got a dark interior. It's pretty much essential. Okay, so we're just going into winter here in the UK, so we're definitely going to appreciate a few of the options to warm you up. Heated seats, £294. I think you've got to spec it. I know our customers in the north, and especially quite a few of our customers up in Bonnie, Scotland, is an essential thing to have, and they refuse to buy cars without heated seats. Heated steering wheel is another thing you can get. On the carbon steering wheel, you have that as standard. You can pay about £300 to get a heated windscreen. We didn't actually go for that, but I certainly wouldn't argue against it. In terms of the tech here, lots of this is standard, so the whole PCM, navigation, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth, it's all seamless and standard. One thing I would recommend is to go for the reverse camera. Visibility actually isn't great in the Macan, so reverse camera is definitely going to help you with parking. You can spend another £500 to get surround view. I think that's unnecessary. Other things you can get, one thing I know for some customers is important is the HomeLink garage door opener, where you can program your car to open your gates and open your garage. I know a lot of our customers, they appreciate that. Other things you can get, one thing I agonized over was the adaptive cruise control. It is a good option, it's a good safety feature, but we just felt our list price was getting a little high, so we left it out. Things like lane change assist, which basically is blind spot monitor informing you when a car's coming up. Lane keep assist, which notifies you if you're going out of lane. all things that are nice but not essential, so you just have to draw the line somewhere. One thing you can get is the Burmester sound system. This is a very expensive option. Obviously, if you're a music fanatic, then it is a great sound system, but the Bose, which comes as standard on the Macan Turbo, is perfectly adequate. Okay, so when it comes to the actual drive and the performance of the new Macan Turbo, there's not loads of different options you can tick. Obviously you get the PDK gearbox as standard, there's no manual option for the Macan, but there are a couple of options which I think are worth ticking. One of them is the air suspension. It's just over £1,000. It just totally smooths out the ride, which is very important, especially here in the UK where you have very bumpy roads. If you're going to spec 21-inch wheels as well, the bigger wheels, you're going to want the air suspension just to make things a smoother and more comfortable ride. It also does a few little things, so you get self-leveling, which basically constantly is balancing out the car depending on the weight. You also can really lower the ride height by pressing the button down here, and it's makes a big difference. You also get Porsche active suspension management as standard included in the air suspension. Okay, so another thing this car has that we ticked, although I'd say it's probably not an absolute essential on a Macan, is the Sport Chrono Package. So what it does is it gives you the clock on the dashboard. It gives you both a digital and an analog display. So being in a Macan, we're not going to be setting lap times in this thing, but what it does do is it gives you this mode switch down here on the steering wheel where you can change the settings from comfort mode to sport mode, and then you get the additional Sport Plus mode with the Sport Chrono Package. And what this does is it just gives you sort of performance related settings where you can tweak the suspension. It gives you a bit of a sharper response from the car, so it's a fun thing to have. It's more involving, it gives you a bit of driver engagement. It also gives you launch control. I mean, I can't imagine too many Macan owners are going to use that, but it's fun to have it. But I think more than anything, it sort of reminds you that you're in a Porsche, which is what you want when you're buying into the brand and getting a Macan. So we went for it. It's not an essential, but I think a good thing to have. Okay, a small little thing, it's only £185, is the Power Steering Plus, which basically at lower speeds it makes the whole steering a bit lighter, which is quite useful when you're parking or driving very slowly. The nice thing about it is if you don't like it, you can actually get it removed. It's a piece of software. I don't believe you can get it added if you don't choose it from the off. So I think an easy option to go for. It's cheap, it's £185. We ticked it and would recommend it. One of the options we didn't go for is the Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus. Basically this is just over £1,000, so it's not cheap. It's meant to give you a bit more traction and a bit more sort of precise steering. I think it's very hard to notice the difference on a Macan. I think it's a thing you'd get on a 911 or possibly the GTS model, which is a bit more driver focused. On the Macan Turbo, I think this is one to leave out. It's not really worth it. Okay, so there you have it. That is how we have spec'd our Porsche Macan Turbo. In total, it's about £12,000 worth of options. We think that's the sweet spot between making the car desirable enough to sell, but making sure it sort of retains a lot of its value as well. I'm sure there's lots of differing opinions about which options you should have. We're always interested to hear them, so please do leave your comments. But until next time, thanks for watching.